Honorable Saulz.
Honorable Chair, it's the conclusionary remarks of my colleague that was still giving me a brain freeze there. Thank you, Chair. I think let me start by AJ, the way you present yourself, the way you answer with so much tact and confidence for a black woman, that's excellence, and I want to celebrate you for that. It's very refreshing to see. In terms of the alignment with the national skills strategy, I didn't see much of that in the current report, but in the budget review report that was given to us last year, if I can remember correctly, the 10th or the 9th of October 2024, on that item, on the national alignment with the skills strategy, how is the department performing?
Thank you, Honorable Saulz. So when we looked at the APP, we believe that what they put in the current APPs, especially for the CETAs, it is in line with what's sitting in the strategy. Right? The challenge with us, we were saying, they are framing them in a way that will be difficult to track. Right? So we were not worried that they are borrowing things outside of the skills development strategy, but it will be important that we craft it in a manner that allows progression, because that strategy is a long term. Right? So one needs to make sure that what we are doing this year, especially as almost the first year of administration, that it creates a solid foundation for us. So we are not worried of them, or we had not identified an instance where they are outside of that particular strategy. So we're comfortable that they are within, but obviously we just need to tighten it a bit. Next.
Is that only for CETAs, or does the same apply to TVET?
Thank you, Honorable Saul. The TVETs, in terms of the framework and the act, they do not have performance planning. Right? So if you look at the framework on performance information, it touches the universities in terms of the requirements to actually have an annual performance plan and annual performance report. It touches on the CETAs and the department and other entities. So the TVETs do not have that particular legislation that demands of the
So are you saying you can't track performance?
Yes, from ourselves we can't.
Okay, I'm now confused because in that 2024 report that you guys gave to us, and I'm trying to link it because we also questioned on that report the last time, and I'm trying to track progress. So in that last report, you actually said that there has been no, I quote, open quote, there has been no significant shift by the TVET branch and TVET colleges in ensuring alignment between the recommendations of the quality assurance entities and the fields of studies being prioritized at the TVETs, close quote.
All right, thank you so much. That is for the, so the work that we've done on performance, it was for the TVET branch, right?
Yeah.
The work we've done on the TVETs is not the APP. That's why you'll see that none of the TVETs will table an APP. So that comment, we made it from the work that we've done in data analytics, analyzing the studies for all the 50 TVETs. So we're still going to do that. That's part of an ordinary audit that's going to come through. It's not necessarily part of the current work that we've done because they don't have an annual performance plan. But part of the reason why we were highlighting the need for the department not to utilize reports, I'm going to go back to that, is so that each branch can be a bit clearer on what is it that they want to do in each of the entities that they are responsible for, speaking from the department perspective. So the proactive work for the APP, the CETAs will not be there, but when we then do the audit outcome feedback, similar to what we did last year, that will include the work that we've done in analyzing their.
Why that is important to break down is because, are you saying to me at this point you still hold that view as it relates to what you stated in the report? Yes?
Thank you, Honorable. It remains intact, that view, until we finalize the audit outcomes. So it remains intact.
Now, in 2024, when I asked that question, you were not there. So I posed the question to the DDG TVET, and he said in that meeting that he disagrees with the Auditor General. So I'm going to pose the very same question. Now that you say you maintain to the Honorable DDG for TVET. DDG, do you remember your response to me?
Honorable Saulz, I remember my response.
Do you
but
maintain?
It was also not in 2024.
When was it?
It was in 2025, early this year, in the Free State.
Your memory is greater than mine.
Yeah.
I'm glad you remember exactly when it was and exactly what you stated. Do you maintain?
I still maintain until we have the engagement with the Auditor General on their findings, and for us to be able to clarify some of the issues, as the AG has said, they still have to finalize on that particular matter. So until such time that we are able to provide responses on some of the findings, I maintain.
No, my interest is obviously not in your processes in terms of when you officially, upon the day when which I still maintain, my memory takes me to 2024. But be that as it may, you said in that meeting that you disagree with the AG, you still disagree with the AG, despite what's still going to come. But at the time of reporting, the AG is saying that there's no link between the skills and what is currently available. You say there are. That's a very pertinent element within TVET, because if the skill strategy that we have does not align with what our students need, it's obviously a problem. It says we are outdated. So for you to maintain, as we sit here now, are you saying that the AG's report at the time, which still applies now, is inaccurate?
Until I get the specific, Honorable Saulz, until I get the specifics of the misalignments, which I don't have at the moment, and in which areas are those misalignments, then I should be in a position to say yes or no.
You would agree that you're unfair now, because at the time when I asked you, your response was not as you state now, to say, you want to first go look why the AG is saying so, and then you'll respond to me. Instead, what you did was you said, no, that's not the truth. Then I asked you, are you stating for the record that you disagree with the AG's statement? You said yes. You didn't need to go verify. With your brilliant memory, can you remember that I asked you, do you state for the record that you disagree? You said yes.
Yes, and I still maintain that, Honorable Saul.
But it's not the same as
question.
It's not the same as
Yes,
before.
the question, how it was phrased, do you agree or disagree?
Yes.
And I said I disagree, Honorable Saul.
I asked
And
you.
I'm saying I'm still maintaining that.
No, today is different. Today you are not saying I disagree. Full stop. Today you are saying I disagree until I am clear and I verify why the AG is saying so. That's a material difference in response. If you say that to me now, you must then say, I concede, I have not added until you see, and then we can settle that, okay, then I'll wait until you have seen. Which one is it?
Through your chair, I still maintain that I disagree. Today, the line of questioning has changed because you say why. That was never asked during that engagement.
I didn't ask why.
Yeah.
My question was, do you still maintain?
Yes, I still maintain, Honorable Saulz.
Yes, but you maintain, are you saying that what the AG has said is not true? Or are you saying you can only say it's true after you have verified?
I've already clarified, Honorable Saulz, that I can only say that once they have concluded their work.
Yes,
and our engagement as well, because the audit process allows for responses, which might verify why certain things have happened in a particular way, based on the standard that AG would have agreed with us as a department.
DDG, you
this
see,
is the information that I need.
I'm very transparent and honest with you. And the reason why this is important is I'm coming back to it because it's important to me. I'm not coming back to it because for some technical reason. It's important that within our TVET sector, that what we offer aligns with the skills that we need. That's why I'm asking it. And at the time when I asked you, because it was concerning when I saw it in the report, you said, it's not true. Now that I have the AG, you change your position and you say, you maintain, but you must first verify. That's two different things. I will leave it at that and say to you the response is not the same. And I take it, AG, that what the DGG is now saying is that he doesn't disagree with you full stop. He will now wait for the reasons that you gave. I had an important other question, but I'll have to leave it now because of that engagement. But once again, great job, and thank you very much for representing the Auditor General's office so well in this session.
Yeah, maybe before we leave it, we'll give the AG. So the issue was, is there anything that the AG can prove or can say to convince the DDG that the answer he gave was not accurate? So maybe let's give the DDG to give that, the AG to give that opportunity if they have something, so that we can convince the DDG that was something. Yeah, I'll give you. Yeah. Yeah.
Auditor.
Sorry?
I actually would advise against it. This is why. Because the DDG is only in this session saying he wants to understand the reasons. Then when I asked, the DG said, no, the AG is wrong. So for whose benefit is it now to hear the reasons? I don't think the platform should be used to now entertain the additional from the DDG. It should just be said, he said for the record, he disagrees, and then this process that's between the AG and the DDG's office will then continue outside of this process. Okay. Instead of now, unless we can use that time for me to ask the other questions I had.
That's okay. We'll deny you that opportunity. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Low. I don't like that there.
Thanks, Chair. Mayor Kabo, I would have listened to you on the presentation, and according to your presentation, 70% of the performance indicators of 2025-26, they did not satisfy the SMART principle, and they've got the potential to deal with the throughput of the first-time student, which can deal with misallocation of funds, and which can also deal with issues of corruption. And we're speaking of first-time students who are normally confronted with registrations, allowances, and stuff. In your honest opinion, do you think the department is not aware of the SMART principles, or there's a deliberate way of not wanting to account on the audit outcomes ever since you've been doing your audits of the department on your previous fiscal years? I'm quite deliberate about this question.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Law, protect me from pronouncing that is deliberate, right? Let me not say it's deliberate, but let me share with you that the framework we utilize to measure performance and the APPs is a framework that is available for all of us. All our entities have got that framework. So let me leave it like that. Protect me from having to determine the intention, but allow me to tell you that the framework is widely available.
The intention is to respond to the needs of our students who are suffering every day.
Yeah.
The intention is to respond to the students who are living in bad conditions of accommodations in different TVETs. The intention is, as a result, to say smart principles are the first tool to give guidance as to what should the audit be into. Accountable, transparent, and responsive to the budget that the government is giving to entities. Now, today, the Department of Higher Education seems not to be familiar with smart principles, mainly because they seem to be quite surprised and shocked about these smart principles. And the first instrument in your audit process or in governance, you start by applying the principles that seeks to balance and open up transparency and open up the field for you not to struggle as to what not getting issues. Secondly, in your presentations, you have referred that there were outstanding indicators that were left behind. And one of the critical indicators that were left behind from the department was the one of students who are trained by an entity called NSF, which they could not account as to how many learners were trained. Now, it means we could have spent the money, but the other department is not willing to account for how many they've trained and how can therefore unpack and put into expenditure. Now, I'm coming on the smart principles because before we go to any other process, the primary entrance is that the department must be clear as to how do you apply your smart principles and how do you therefore unpack the smart principles to respond to the current situations. I'm going to give you scenarios. Entities are failing to develop in terms of society and as per the programs that they're giving. There's a lot of corruption taking place, hence you can see that today the Director General cannot even know that the APP is a predetermined document, analyzed, done by the department, and then they put measures to say how they implement it. The APP is a free framework that is going to give effect and a base as to how the department is expected to perform quarterly and how they are going to measure in terms of the instruments of the performance management system that is acquired by the law. Now, when you do that, you utilize the SLA as an agreement which is going to be a tool of measuring the work done. Hence, when you come now, we utilize the smart principles to check, is it tangible, is it reliable, and is it accurate, and is it specific on the scope of work as per the alignment of the budget. We can't be teaching the department this. Now, it means our inefficiencies and our failure to respond to the needs of the children of the South Africans who do not have access to universities, accommodation, even food. It's as a failure of the department's plan, and to be honest, and to be also to align the current issues of the department and review their work. That is my analysis on the smart principles, how it is deliberately left behind. Because the first tool to be accountable, you must apply those principles that should be specific what you want to attain. So we are trying to show to the South Africans that, yes, indeed, there is no willingness or there is no willingness to say we can be able to change attitude. For example, I'm going to ask you again, in your fiscal years, in terms of the department's misalignment and their audit action plans, have they adequately responded to what you've given them, or you've been struggling to get the accurate responses in according to the audit action plans? I'm asking this because when you audit in a financial year, you will give your opinions, you will give your findings, and then Tate Zungu can only say to us he disagrees in a certain period of time as per the AGSA law, the laws that are applied, your GREP standards and norms of the AGSA that guides the auditing tool. So you only disagree on a period of time, and then the audit opinion becomes final, and it stays there, and then you can only do what? Deal with the ramifications on the audit action plans. Now, the problem like this, it is emanating from ourselves that we are confronted with, is as a result that we are not confirmed, or we are not bound by the principles of how we want to guide the department. Now, I'm not an auditor, but luckily God has given me an opportunity to become a mere HR practitioner. Now, how you measure your APP and how you align it with the current issues, it goes along with the budget. Now, when the indicator does not perform and the budget there's expenditure. It means there's no alignment. There's either corruption, mismanagement, and misalignment, and failure to adhere to that. So I want to know, in your previous fiscal years, in the audit action plans, have the department adequately responded to the issues as we've recommended, or you are still stuck with few issues that are not yet aligned as per the SMART principles? Mokshodu Tero is SMART principles. Any engagement that we are going to terminate from now, it should be based on the SMART principles, because you are applying them when you are doing audit.
Thank you so much, Chair. Let me summarize it like this, Honorable Law, that so far as, and we call it audit of predetermined objectives. Okay? So meaning where we audit not only your APP, but we also audit your reporting. That is where the department is stuck, actually. In fact, if you look at the audit outcome for higher education, you would have seen, if I take you through the history, they would have had struggles with compliance, as an example. They dealt with compliance, and compliance will speak to supply chain and the likes. But the second other item that they struggled with is performance reporting. And that still stays with the department. So that stagnation, I think the department is still battling with it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much. I've also noted in your report that 60% of the performance indicators were focused on the administrative outputs rather than education outcomes. Now, this misalignment has led to inefficiencies where approximately 500 million was spent on initiatives that did not yield measurable education improvements. What were the most significant shortcomings in the performance indicators used by the Department of Higher Education, and how does these shortcomings affect the overall assessment of the department's performance? Thanks.
Trying to have an opportunity, can I allow her? Thank you, go ahead.
I just need a quick summary of the question, please. Just the last part of the main question.
Of the question was that how did the shortcomings affect the overall assessment of the department's performance?
Look, I think in this particular instance, because of the fact that we're not yet at a point of actually looking at the actual performance, hence we are at a point of actually cautioning in that with these shortcomings, the implication would be the actual performance element. So at this point in time, we're cautioning against you. I think it was mainly on the reporting element, in that the department would be planning on reports in that particular slide, rather than actually, the actual activities in the actual the actual activities that should be monitored. The implications of that is that when we come to now actually assessing the performance of the department, is that there might be a bit of a shortcoming, because what you would have planned in terms of the activities, one is not actually able to monitor the actual performance of the department. Hence, it's going to have that implication in terms of actual implications in terms of actual implementation against the budget that would be allocated in the department in terms of implementation. I think that's where the shortcoming might be the instance.
In a nutshell, accountability is going to be a challenge. If you cannot craft these things in an unambiguous way, in a smart way, then we are going to spend, and accountability will be a bit of a challenge for us. Thank you.
Chair, the last question. I know my time has passed. DG, in all of the deliberations, I want to pose a question to you. Do you think it's fair for South Africans, and do you think it's fair for our students and our people whom we regard as motive forces to suffer the consequence of incompetency, failure to adhere to internal controls, and failure to do consequence management at the department, and a helm where you are the head of the institutions? Do you think that it's fair that you must always every day come here and speak one thing and there's nothing that is happening? What will be your take to the South Africans and the people in this home to deal with the changes adequately, effectively, and what do you think you will bring about to the committee or to the people of South Africa as a matter of saying we're going to change the situation in this particular way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think up until we've changed the material conditions of our students out there, none of us must be satisfied. All of us must feel that we've got to do more than we are doing. And I think our task in the leadership is actually to inspire those we lead towards a different turn. What the AG is presenting here today is how we are doing it. Also, what the AG is saying is what are the weaknesses in the plans to turn it around. We are also saying at the same time, we know where we come from and where we are now. Maybe the distance from where we were to where we are now is not significant as much as we wish. But there is movement. I've got a team here of esteemed officials of the department who have served the government over many years. And I can tell you, many of them inspire me in terms of the work that they do. What is a shortcoming in our work is how do we link the strategic turn of the department towards the areas that will help us to move quickly towards reaching out to those. You said 50% of those who are living in rural areas and in the margins of society. Our coming here as the entire leadership of the department before the portfolio committee is so that we are able to provide not just the overviews or strategic angle of how we are moving, but also to be able to draw specific responses from the teams that are in operations, so that there is specific response to questions that Parliament is asking us. I can assure you, we are here committed. We are here believing that the direction we are taking is the one that is going to change the country for the better. And I am determined and I'm convinced that this is going to be achieved, especially if we work together with the Auditor General and other entities that seek to support us. I would discourage anyone who feels they differ at this stage, because we are at a sensitive stage of the revolution. We are at a different, at this stage we cannot afford. When the chair was asking me a question about how are we going to make sure that those who differ, in terms of recommendations of the AG, how are we going to turn it around? I understand that question to also mean, can you really afford at this stage that we have people just engaging us academically when actually the reality of the environment is about the lives of our people? And in as much as we will listen to academic arguments, what is important to me is turning the system towards ensuring that everyone is there, and all the views that we receive and all the support we can get from the portfolio committee, from the Auditor General, to me, will help us to get to that point. And we apologize if we are not specific, Chair, sometimes. And I think it's not easy to be in Parliament. And you must accept that many of us are just bureaucrats and technocrats. But there is no intention to mislead. If you allow me, I'll make one example of the SLA. Because this is a question which I feel I'm not satisfied we've answered satisfactory. The AG said to me about the SLAs, look, there's a problem with your SLAs. Not here, in the previous audit. There's a problem with your SLA. Your SLAs, what sitters are doing, they don't concentrate on what is in the APP. They craft them such that they choose the easiest things to achieve. In other words, you will have an SLA and you will have the APP. but in the manner, because they know the SLA is the sharpest tool to hold boards accountable. If they can reduce the impact of the measurability, the SMART principle, in terms of how it is crafted, it delays the department in actually holding them accountable. That's what AG said in the previous year. This year, what I think Mr. Mvalo was I thought that's the angle he was taking. He was trying to be specific about what we are doing with the SLAs to make sure that they are aligned to the SLAs. How it came across, it's another matter. But I would have thought that is how he wanted to respond. Chair, I think that is my humble take in the question that is really fundamental, because it's also a strategic question that must also question how the strategic direction of the department takes into account the issues that are flagged to us by the Auditor General. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, DG, and I'm happy that you've entered there indicating the importance of this SLA, actually describing it as a sharpest tool that you guys can use to hold these boards available. If that is the case, why at the beginning of the 7th Parliament until the end of the financial year, why did we not have SLAs with these sitters? And who was responsible for that?
Chair, the SLAs are signed between the chairs of boards of sitters and the Director General. Up until we have appointed them, it could not be possible to have an SLA. You needed to appoint them. So the processes for the appointment of boards have actually affected the process of finalizing the SLAs. There is no other reason. The minute we appoint the boards, the SLAs must be signed. What we need to question at this point in time is how do we manage the transition that has been created as a result of the gap that has been, that has happened. And I think this is the answer. The answer to that question is the work that ourselves and the NSA are doing to say how do we tighten the monitoring, of our sitters in the transition. How do we make sure that since there are no chairs currently in the system, that gap does not lead to a problem. The signing of the SLAs would not be a problem. What is an issue, Chair, which is relevant for us to discuss it today, is the fact that even if we had signed it on time, if we would not have addressed the issues that the AG would have flagged with us previously, still it would not help us to achieve what we want. And so to me, what's important today is that those SLAs, what we get, in fact, is taking advantage of the fact that there has been this process to actually go back to those SLAs and make sure that they speak to the issues that are there, so that they are relevant to us. I think that is and I don't know if my colleagues would wish to add there, but the simple reason for SLAs not being signed by now is simple, that they are between the DG and the chairs.
Yeah. My question was, the SLAs we're talking about was from around at the beginning of the 7th administration until end of the financial aid March. So that time we had the boards and the chairs. Why was that period? Why did we not have those SLAs?
Okay, I don't know if you can.
Honorable Chair, thanks very much, DG. For the financial year 2024-2025, we have had SLAs. DG is making reference for 2025-2026. The ones that now in the system we have a lacuna, as it were, Honorable Chairperson, that we are finalizing the process of appointing the chairpersons. And DG must finalize these service level agreements with the chairpersons. But for the year 2024, 2025, there were service level agreements. Okay. Thanks very much, Honorable Chair.
Okay, Khabo. Did we not have a situation where there were no service level agreements from the beginning of the 7th administration to the end of the financial year 24-25?
Thank you, Chair. I think for the previous financial year, we didn't have that. What we may have had in instances where some of the indicators that are in the SLA were not in the APP. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. And we have not started auditing the 24-25? You're busy with it. Okay. We will wait for you to finish that audit. And then we will see, because I believe there was a period where SLAs were not signed by the department, but because we have not finished auditing, we'll allow you. DG. So the SLA you are saying you sign with the chairs of the boards, and not, there's no way the CEOs are part of that thing.
No, what would then happen is that the performance agreements of the CEOs must, once those are signed, then align with what the board, because what the process of signing the SLA is to allow the minister to hold the boards accountable. But the boards must then hold the management accountable. In the performance agreement, then will have to then be informed by that. For example, right now the performance agreements of DDGs are already aligned to the new targets, the new performance targets. But up until we have signed the SLA to see if what is in the performance agreements of DDGs is also reflected in, for example, DDG Mvalo and CITAS. You know, you want to see the link between the performance agreements of all of those officials that are there. And I think that is what we are looking at, Honorable Chair. And our commitment is to improve from the areas the AG has cited. I actually, when I look at those areas that you know are lifted, I feel that we should be saying, you know, we can see our way through in getting you know, this done. The challenge for the department is to monitor and ensure that we improve because of the magnitude of the system that we are responsible for.
Yeah. So the service level agreements in the Skills Development Act is covered under Section 10A. And you are saying to me that the service level agreement, okay, before that, Section 11(1) or Section 11 gives authority to the ministry to hold boards accountable, meaning these chairs report to the minister, and that is why they are appointed by the minister. the service level agreement is signed between the DG and this. So as a chair, as a chair of the board, I sign a service level agreement with somebody. The same act says I'm not reporting to. Does it make sense? Is it?
I think, Chair, you have spotted a real gap because that's a legal. It's a legal issue. It's an area that requires attention in the review of the legislation because it has caused problems in the past, where in the manner in which the chairs they see themselves as reporting to the minister, when they are held accountable by the Director General of the Department, there is always a struggle, in subjecting themselves to account based on those SLAs. And we've found a mechanisms in the process of trying to create a harmony in the disjuncture that exists by ensuring that there are fora of sitters for CEOs and forums of chairs, where we engage on these matters. But when it comes to where, for example, there are problems, we have to hold people accountable. That has been the key area. I think for me, the key area of amendment would have to be that one.
Yeah, because, I mean, even if you look at Section 10, I think it's Section 10(1)(g), that gives the administration of the sitters to directly report to the DG. And then Section 11 then has a different interpretation. It's just a mess. So when we say to you, DG, we are not happy with the performance, because this thing, a legal team of the department, DDG Mban, should have long picked this thing up. Those are very serious people who are paid serious money dealing with legal. We are not legal people. But for us to pick up this thing when it has been with the department so long, when you have a department, you have people there, directors, chief directors, who come to our meetings instead of doing their job. This is part of them doing their job. All they know is just to disrespect members when they're in our meetings. And when we tell you, you are not performing here. This is one example. I'm just making an example of this one, because it has legal problems. And when we raise this thing that you in the department who are dealing with legal issues, you are not helping us. You take offense. You come to our meetings then and tell us that we are saying you are useless. We have never said anybody is useless. But we are saying you are not doing your job properly there. And the state is giving money to this department, to this unit in the department to pick up these things. And when you don't pick them up, it creates a problem. I mean, I'm making an example with this one, with the Skills Development Act. We've got many problems. I mean, the CET Act, for an example, that deals including with equalizing the digizongo of those who in the TVET sector would have improved their qualifications. And it's not followed. The department does not follow, all of those things. It seems like there's no, in the act, there's no recourse for this. So when you put up an act, DG, it must protect everybody in the system. It must be a guideline for what to do and what not to do. And if you do this, it means this will be the problems of it moving forward. So I hope this one will be attended to as soon as possible. So the letter from Treasurer DG that the minister gave to the accounting officers of the SETAs to act as accounting authorities. How far can you go in making sure that, because you can't say now there's no chairs. The biggest problem we have is this SLA. Can these people, accounting officers who are now accounting authorities, sign these SLAs? And if yes, how soon can we expedite this? The legal team is not here. Ordinarily, they were supposed to help us to say the problem with this is that X, Y, and Z might happen in the long run, but they're not here. I know I might be putting you on the spot, but there's these letters that you got from National Treasury that says X, Y, and Z can act. How far can they go, and can they really sign these SLAs as accounting authorities? If you are not sure, members don't like being, because they do go through their work. What do you say? If you are not sure, because you are not a legal person, you are from NSA. Yeah, no, I'll allow you to open the mic. But if you are not sure, don't answer, because I don't want tomorrow. You might be trying to respond honestly. And then tomorrow we find that your honest intention was not an honest answer. And these members, you see, they are instructing me to go open cases. Tomorrow it will be me here with people running after me with serious guns, you know. So please assist us. If you are not sure, DG, let's not commit to something we're not sure. It's okay to even say, we have not thought about it that way. Maybe let's get our legal department. I don't know if you have a legal department, honestly, but let's get our legal department to help us. I know I'm assisting you. I can see, DG, you have finished 2 glasses of water, 2 bottles of water. No. NSA CEO, you were pressing your mic. Yeah, press the mic first so that you're on the record.
Well, Chair, I was tempted to say without prejudice, let me not compromise myself. But ordinarily, the letters that were issued are designating the CEOs to perform those functions with the vested powers in them. Thank you, Chair.
So DG, it means there's no reason why those SLAs should not be signed, so that we are able to measure this reporting format properly. So we'll give you time to consult internally, so that when you'll give it to us in writing that we have spoken to legal, this is what they're saying, and this is the process we'll take in making sure that we have this stability. We agree that. There's been a period, AG, where we have had a problem with this, the usefulness of information that these entities give us. As part of your recommendations, have you recommended to the department to probably look at capacity building in the system, from TVETs, SETAs, whatever, and say to them, department, this is a problem. We're unable, every year we get repeat findings because of your information you give us. It's not, we can't use it. That's why some of the entities would have had disclaimers. But have we recommended to the department to consider capacity building in the sector? And if yes, what have they done according to you? about those suggestions. Kgabi.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Our recommendations over the years. So we kind of, as the HSA, would not have said build more capacity in terms of warm bodies. But I'll tell you that one of the key elements of the HSA recommendation speaks to the full utilization of your accountability structures. So each of these entities will have internal audit and audit committee, and for a reason. If you look at how PFMA had been crafted to recognize the role and the function of internal audit and audit committee, it was supposed to protect the entities. It's like a secondary layer of accountability that assist and aid the department. Our view as the HSA remains the fact that you may not want to bulk the organizational structure of the department. That may not be the intention. But is to actually reflect and say, how best do you utilize the current governance structures that are sitting in these entities? And similarly, I think when you're making a comment on the information that comes to the committee, right? Our recommendation as the HSA will always remain, as a committee as well, when you have a report that comes from the entity, it may be beneficial once or twice to be asking, what is the view of internal audit on what I'm having, right? Or what is the view of the audit committee on what I'm having? Because those structures are independent. They should be independent information, and they should also have the right capability to aid certain governance processes. So our recommendation will always gravitate towards the full utilization of internal audit and audit committee, with the understanding that they should be independent from the entities that they're servicing. Thanks, Chair.
DG, with the recommendations from the AG, what has the department done in making sure the department and its entities are aligned to the recommendations of the AG?
Okay, I think, Chair, earlier on I tried to suggest that this work that the AG is presenting is a result of our earlier engagement with AG, which has led to all our entities engaging. Even those that have been negative, they have been brought on board to actually engage the AG. I think what remains now to be done is to isolate those areas where we still have not reached full compliance from the institutions. Isolate them, target them through our SITA coordination desk, and get them to take the line of the department in that regard. I think as a DG of the department, I can take that decision.
Okay. Last question, AG. Has the department not had non-compliance now with your SMART principle, the department itself? You can answer.
They did. The whole debate, Honorable Chair, that speaks to the report, it has to do with the smartness of those indicators. I think that's why it was important for us to put it forward. They did. Thanks.
And this is recurring from the 2022-2023 APP, according to my records here.
Yes, most of the indicators is how they had them in the previous years.
DG, now let's leave there. The entities. You know, you've been answering well. No, the reason why the work we're doing, we're asking these people to do these things. Now, the AG's report says your own department is not compliant itself with the SMART principles in this year's 25-26 APP, and this is recurring from the 22-23 APP. Take us through. Convince us now. Why even yourselves? I take this, you'll bring these other entities to the book and what, but now even yourself, this thing says you are also a victim of not, complying. Take us through.
Chair, I can commit the department in ensuring that what's still outstanding is finalized and dealt with. It should not be an outstanding. If we say we will encourage entities, it must be also because we are leading by example. I think that's
So they've responded to, they are fixing this, or they fixed it. They will fix. Okay. No, it's fine. So the concluding remarks on this. Okay, okay.
Chair, thank you very much. Okay, just one disclaimer I've noted in the letter that I responded on. While in one paragraph it indicates that the CEOs can assume the role of the accounting authorities. However, in another paragraph further down the line, it indicates that this approval only pertains to the functions of the accounting authorities in terms of the PFMA Act and does not include functions of the boards in terms of the Skills Development Act. So there may be a technicality there. I wanted to just clarify that. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah,
But I think, Chair, if I may come in, you have already directed us in saying, let us work with our legal to check those gaps and then advise you on how we are proceeding.
Yeah, I was going to say that let's still stick to getting a legal something so that there's no ambiguity. When you write to us, TG will ask you by next week Wednesday to give us that thing. AG, as we thank you, I think the Auditor General in South Africa is doing an incredible job in helping us change the lives of our people. I think people sometimes don't understand the roles of Chapter 9 institutions and other institutions in helping government become a better instrument to change the lives of our people. I want to thank you. I know I'm probably one of the worst chairpersons that would work with because I even call at wrong hours. I call, if something comes to my mind at night about the sector, I call, and I want to appreciate the fact that you are assisting even when we call you at different hours. I call you last minute. Yeah, please. When we call you at this wrong hours, you do assist. I call you last minute when we're having an interaction with a certain institution, be it a TVET, a university. I'll call you last minute to please bring in your people to come help us understand this 1, 2, 3, 4, because you would have seen the presentation of that institution and certain things will not make sense, and you put people on a flight immediately, even though I'll be saying it the day before. I want to appreciate you, appreciate the commitment you have to this country. Honestly, the entire AGSA also send our gratitude to your principal. We really appreciate. DG, you see and especially NSFAS, DDG Sokuku, there are a number of issues that AG has raised. And from where I'm seated, we're still going to have problems with NSFAS, with what I'm seeing here. I mean, when the AG says the indicators are not well defined at NSFAS, what does it mean? It means NSFAS will say, as an example, I am going to fund 600,000 university students. But there will be no strict indicator that will say, this is how I'm going to prove that I funded these people. They will probably say that, DG, I will wait for a university to give me I don't know what in order for me to prove. And that is what, the reason why we have the 2017 to 2022 closeout project is precisely because that the internal controls of NSF, they will just give money to a university and they don't even know whether they, at the end of the year, they owe or are owed by that university. That is why we have this SIU closeout project, for an example. So how, this one is a sore pain to me, because on a daily basis, we get, all these members, they get many queries from students saying, I'm funded. I'm told I'm funded. But I've never received an allowance for the whole year. It's June now, I'm writing exams. I've never received any allowance. I was never given or allocated the residence. A lot of problems. And when AG goes and says, let's put this smart principles, this is so that we are able to measure, NSFAS should be about impact. What impact are you making to poor people out there? Are you taking them off the streets or putting them at universities? So when I look at this, the misalignment between SP and APP, yeah? NSFAS claims to have a relationship with other parties as public-private partnerships. But when AG checks, there's no PPP there. The relationship does not meet the definition. Because triple Ps are defined by National Treasury. They tell you, this is what a triple P is. Mare, ronar ki triple P. We are just paying people. People giving people money. They are consultants. I'm very worried, TG, about NSFAS. I am extremely worried. Something ought to give at NSFAS. In fact, we were trying, just that this period of budgets could not allow us, but we were trying to bring NSFAS again now. Because it can be that, we get so many, even, I'm sure these people, they now have our numbers. They now know our numbers by head. Accommodation providers. The number of emails and calls and WhatsApps that we get from them, it's just scary across the country. Others have not paid since. Students were writing exams, DG, without Wi-Fi, because these accommodation providers could no longer afford to pay Wi-Fi. They owe municipalities hundreds of thousands of rands in water and electricity. Some of these students were writing exams without electricity at their accommodation. And they understand it's not the accommodation provider's fault. It's because they've not been paid from last year. So it's as if there's a deliberate attempt. And we raised it when NSFAS was here because we were a bit worried that NSFAS seems to want to say everything else must go back to universities. They don't want to do anything with paying accommodation providers. And we warned them in that meeting. We said, we're going to have a problem because we're going to have, and I'm glad the regional manager of Gauteng and Free State is here, of the TVET. He's also a principal of Letaba. Letaba TVET. Letaba TVET is one of the TVET colleges that were putting our kids in shacks. And we could not blame NSFAS because they were not playing a role. Now, the leadership, the new leadership of NSFAS are saying that they must go back to that state. And we've told them in the meeting here, they were seated somewhere, we told them we don't agree with them. Because throwing the problem away from yourselves to universities is not going to solve it. You are going to go back to another problem that was already identified. And if you listen to the tone of these accommodation providers, they are saying those who are accredited by universities are being paid. And those who are accredited by NSFAS, they are not being paid. So what is being done here, deliberately, DG, is to say the useful process is when you are paid by university and not by NSFAS. And I can tell you it's done deliberately. These people, they meet with the top leadership of NS. They write to them. They include us on their emails. They promise, on this day, 30 May, we're paying. These people go and make arrangement with their debtors. The Bangor Bank, my man, don't take this bus, this minibus taxi that I'm using to transport these kids to campus. Yes, NSFAS says it's going to be. On the 30th, when it comes, they don't pay. Throws this poor person right under a train, not even a bus. How train? So we are very worried about NSFAS. We are extremely worried. The things that are happening in that NSFAS they are not sitting well with us. They punish students. Students have submitted everything. They are registered at an institution. The communication between an institution and NSFAS does not happen the way it should. And the student is being punished. They tell a student, you are not going to be funded this year because the date has passed where the university or institution was supposed to give us your registration. These kids, they've registered. There's nothing that they've not done. It's not their fault. But the letter comes from NSFAS and say, we're not funding you this year. We're worried about what is happening at that institution. It looks like a coordinated effort to collapse that. And I've said it before. That thing means more than anything to us. So, many of us here will not have seen the doors of learning and culture if it was not because of that institution. It has produced over 5 million poor people or graduates from there at universities alone, and more if you include TVET. We're not going to sit back and allow it to be dragged to the ground. So we want you guys as the department, and we told the board there, when the board chair, we said, we will not accuse you of meddling issues there. But when we ask you at any given time, we want you to tell us how far are things there. And I don't think that is happening. Like I said, I'm very worried. We met with them about 2 months or so ago. I can tell you things have not improved. It is worrying. These kids now, the students, they've written exams. Many of them might not have done well. Because the assumption you must have is that if you don't give this student money for allowances, they don't have anything to eat. That's the assumption you have. Because your system says they come from a SASA family, they don't have anything. So the whole 6 months they've not eaten. That's the assumption you have. So they went to exams, being stressed, having not eaten, having written tests, hungry, or even these exams they are writing, they're hungry. And then when they don't do well, you come in with this N+ rule. Some of them, besides DDG, in May that I won't be able to pass this exam, so I'm deregistering. They deregister to stay at home. And then the following year, when you say, no, I'm not funding you because you have passed, you have exceeded your N+1. So, NSFAS worries me. I mean, I don't know how many students have written to me, they've written to these members about these problems. And these members, those are their bosses. All of us here, they must give answers. We send these things to NSFAS. Then NSFAS decide not to even respond to these members. What does it mean? These members, they are useless to their constituencies. And that is a deliberate, and not something we're not going to agree to. When you look at the comments here, misalignment, almost sounded like Benny Payne, mismanagement. No, order sustained. It was on a lighter note. NSF, same story. DG, serious problems. So I will not go into details, but you know, serious problems. So let's please DG, let's put our hands on pulse, because the consequences of us not doing it, it's major. If you have not given this child, this student, who's a boy, their allowances, some of them, they try and batabalaza, try and survive. And in them trying to survive, some of them, they are killed. Maybe they try robbery, pickpocketing somebody, because they just need money for bread. They try there, they get stabbed, they get arrested. It's bad. And if they are females, many of them with very good moral fiber, they end up giving in to these cheese boys and sugar daddies on campus who are asking them out. Because this cheese boy or sugar daddy has got money to afford to give, I'll give you, to afford to give this child grocery money. They end up giving in. And then, because this old people with a big stomach like mine, many of them, they don't have moral fiber. You know, even when they go to these kids with an intention just to sleep with them, give them money, some of them are not even, they're sick. They infect these young kids with a number of STIs. Some of them impregnate these young girls and live there, creating more problems for these young kids. So this thing, when we don't give these children their allowances, it's bad. And I want us to put our hands at DG, at NSFAS, to solve this particular problem. There's something you wanted to do. Another just indicated that lunch has arrived. So maybe let's close with you, DG, and then we'll just thank AG. We'll allow you to eat, AG, before you leave. That's how much we appreciate your contribution, Kabo, and the team. DG?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I think if I understand you well, you are suggesting a dedicated conversation just on the NSFAS, and I think I cannot agree with you more there. I think it's a question of dates and time. We can't disagree on that one, and I also understand the urgency in this. If I had an opportunity, Chair, on another day, I would try to frame the conversation on NSFAS in two different ways. One, on one hand, macro strategy. What is it that we are trying to do to consolidate a comprehensive support system for students, which is not just about funding students, but which goes beyond that, which also include wellness and other related issues, and combine the joint work that we are doing with higher health, as part of the consolidated government program to support students, but also in that way identify and frame key issues that needs to be resolved in the next 10 years, so that we can actually see each time we move if we are getting to that point. And that would include developing a policy on student accommodation. And, where we prioritize undergraduate students in that policy. That says that we prioritize them for student accommodation and redefine and reach and seek consensus on the issues around the loan system, which has not yet been settled, which requires consultation, which requires conversation that is much broader than just the department. Chair, we NSFAS this year have had a strategic planning program, and we had a chance to advise them on what are the main things to be done, and all the issues you've raised, we flagged those issues. The university branch is thoroughly engaged with them. I think this year there is more intense engagement between the branch and NSFAS than I've seen before. So a lot of work and a lot of things needs to be reported by the department in terms of this. And it's not suggesting that everything is fine, but it is saying there are certain questions that needs to be answered that are quite difficult. One of them is resources at the disposal of NSFAS and versus the demand. Those are some of the issues which really are important, because if you are going to fund 600, but 1.2 million require access, you are going to end up funding others and not others. And when we are asked what is the criteria for selecting those who funded, you are going to be found wanting, which is, I think, is the case right now. They declare we are going to fund 600,000. But in that calculation, they have not included those that have been approved in the previous years, but have not been funded. So then they get caught in that situation. So I think that conversation is important, Chair, so that we can align ourselves in terms of what it is we are doing and whether what we are doing is key, or we can actually prioritize other things. I think for me that is important. We tried to table the comprehensive student funding model, which is a good work that has been done. Those who have had an opportunity to engage with that work and inputs and submissions by stakeholders, a lot of it. But besides, we've got compelling reports on NSFAS that have been written by Professor Balintulo, Professor Balim, that are comprehensive. Even if I were to ask, to run NSFAS, and I just say, do what is here, they can run it successfully up until the point when they cannot fund that extra student because there is a shortfall in their budget, which I think are some of the issues which are related to other conversations around NSF and so forth, because it's important that that conversation is had to deal with all of those issues, because what do we do? If we were to announce today that we deal with those issues, have we shifted in terms of the policy of government regarding our funding? So can I commit, Chair, in saying we'll engage internally with you to set up that conversation? At least we must have three things we agree they are priorities, and the account on those issues. But we agree with you in all the matters which we have tabled. Chair.
No, thank you very much, DG. We don't want to take long before we take lunch, because when we do so, people probably they've got comorbidities, so they must eat. So we are going to take. We'll be back here at 2:10. So let's just eat. It's enough time. So we'll be back at 2:10 to get the presentation from the department about what is it that they've done when we went to 3 provinces on oversight. Want to see the issues that were raised in those oversight, if they were followed up, because I know we keep on getting some of the issues that, in fact, when we were here, they were better. Now that the Honorable Saulz raised X, Y, and Z, things are worse. So even when you present, just know that because we went to those people, they do speak to these members. So when you present and say, you see here, in Motero, we've resolved this thing, these members will tell you, no, that's not true, because one of the issues that was raised there was payment of staff, and at the end of May they were not paid for a number of days. So when you present knowing that they know. You know, I always say it. You see now, there's one here who wants to put me in a serious problem of opening cases. And my safety is I've got many children, and my safety, I want my children to grow up without a father. So please don't create more problems for me. Let's answer, when we answer, let's answer correctly, because they know. So we'll be back here at 10 past. Thank you very much, AG. Really appreciate it. I know you won't come back, but the colleagues are staying. Thank you very much. The meeting is on a break.